out and back in.
All right, cool.
For official entrance.
Yeah.
Exactly. Done.
This week's.
Done.
All right, Brian, you're on.
All
Ladies
right.
and gentlemen, the one and the only Brian Basilico.
I'm coming.
And the crowd goes crazy.
See, he's got that cool lower third thing going.
I know. We're just
So,
not that fancy here, Brian.
Say what?
You said you got a fancy lower third. I said, yeah, we're just not that fancy.
Well, because I'm a blabber. You know, I got to do all the right stuff.
Yep. So, Brian and I have known each other for a few years from NAMS. We actually have jammed on stage together.
Nice.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. And
where's the video of that? I think we like to
that's
see
a good
that.
question.
Yeah.
I don't know. There
Unearth that shit.
It was destroyed. It was super secret.
Yeah.
No,
So,
we don't keep secrets here.
My once a year drumming. Thanks, Ellen. Sorry about that. I double booked. I booked two people for the same time. But Ellen's next week and Brian's this week. And Brian is a podcaster. Before podcasting was cool, an author, a friend, a colleague. So thank you for being here. And
a bacon fanatic, apparently.
All about bacon, baby.
So we'll let you talk about the bacon book and the bacon brand and all that cool stuff. But first I wanted to ask, did you switch, you've been blabbing for a while. Did you switch doing your podcast to Blab? Are you doing all your podcasts via Blab now?
No, I'm still doing my podcast the way I did it before. Blab is just a separate thing. So I have Blab with Bacon.
Yeah.
I've got the Bacon podcast. I've got Bacon Coach. So everything is bacon.
Yeah.
And I'm broadcasting right now. Is this going to work for me? I don't know, man. There we go. Here we go. I'm broadcasting from CBS, Central Bacon Studios.
Awesome.
Okay. And then here's
Look at all the fancy animation. He's putting us
there's the Bacon podcast.
Yeah.
And then here's the new book coming out. It's called The Bacon System, Sizzling Hot Recipes That Grow Your Business.
Can't wait. So, Brian, one time I was at this conference, NAMS, I think it was last year, and I come down the hall, and all I could smell was bacon. I'm like, what the hell is going on? he's making bacon in his session. So
that would be...
Yeah. I can't compete with that. I mean, it's like I have PowerPoint and you have bacon. So.
Well,
Yeah, okay, so let's get to what is the bacon thing all about? Bust it out.
This is the way it started.
I love it.
Yeah. I was giving a speech in LA with a couple of my friends, and Georgianne's a Twitter freak. So she says, giving a speech, CHA, LA, 2012, #bacon. And she said, by the time we're done, I'm going to have 10 new followers on Twitter. And I said, really? Because I wasn't a big Twitter fan at that time. So she was completely wrong. When we were done, she had 20 new followers. And I'm going, what's up with that? So I network a lot, and I went to all these breakfast meetings, and I started taking pictures of bacon. And people were commenting on it saying, dude, do you have a prepaid plan with your cardiologist? You're going to die. And it just exploded. So when I started writing my first book, it was entitled, It's Not About You. It's about relationship marketing in a social media world. And I was meeting with a client, and she looked at the cover and she said, no, it's not about you. It's about bacon. And I said, oh my God, you're right. So it just turned into a brand that exploded. And today that's what I am, the Bacon Man.
That's crazy. And
nice.
Dre's the brand, the brand diva. So
yeah, I love being known for individual things that even if someone tried to become the bacon guy, they look like the biggest poser douchebag ever. So ways to capitalize on it and make that your thing. I absolutely love
so
it,
I started to Blab. I figured I got to have some kind of background because behind me is wide open spaces and light and all this stuff. So I went on Amazon and I found this. This is a shower curtain.
Oh my God.
And I bought it for $50 and it's my projection screen that I've just basically clipped to the back, and now it becomes the CBS Central Bacon Studios.
Funny. Dude, I like that idea though. The shower curtain. There's some pretty shower curtains out there. I might steal that idea. That's
Are you gonna have a crazy cat lady shower curtain behind you next week?
No, fuck that. I want to find a bar.
Yeah.
I've wanted a bar background for so long. And I'm like, how do you do it? They have those like wall murals, which I thought about.
Yeah, just go to Amazon and search it. I mean, you'll find something.
Oh, boy.
Oh, good tip. You're full of tips already.
Tell us the distinction between podcasting and blabbing, or at least as you see it from, you're doing both. So what's...
Yeah. Well, podcasting and blabbing have one thing in common. And I do a lot of interviews. As you know, Lou, you've been on the show. So I get to interview some really killer people who know a lot of stuff. And I do a monocast on Monday. I do a blog on Tuesday. I do my expert interview on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I do a email broadcast, which is a digest of all the things I've done all week. And Blab is this. This is community where we're all talking face to face. It's very extemporaneous. It's fun. It's different. But not everybody is going to understand how to get on Blab. Now, podcasting is something that's becoming super, super mainstream because every car pretty soon is going to be able to listen to podcasts inside of their cars. People listen to it while they're working out. I walk my dog and I listen to podcasts. So, it's really more portable and it's more accessible. And it tends to be shorter form. Like I do a 10-minute, 15-minute podcast so that people can listen to it on a commute, where these tend to be a half hour, an hour long. But the cool thing about this is, Mr. Video Guy, is we're creating video content that goes up on YouTube and can be put into a website. And so it's just another piece in the marketing puzzle.
So let me ask you something, Brian. Since Blab has the ability to just download the audio now, are you seeing that, or do you think that's going to become, like a lot of people that were doing Google Hangouts were turning their Hangouts into a podcast? Do you think that, because it's kind of two birds, one stone, or you think the platforms just have a very different vibe and format where you kind of have to keep them separate?
No, if somebody's not a podcast person, because a traditional podcast is done more like a radio show. So you have an intro. If you get super popular, you can put commercials in it. You have a closing. And I'm sure you can do this here. I mean, people like Joel Comm has his own Blab intro music and, all that kind of stuff. So he does it more as a production. But I think that Blabs tend to be a little bit less formal. So I've heard people who've done Blabs and then convert them over to podcasts, which is fine. That's good for them. I think podcasting as itself probably is going to lean more towards replacing radio style content with, bumpers and intros and commercials and all that other stuff. It's just a different medium. But this is one way to do a podcast. But let's get down to one thing. The technical glitches and issues, like right now, I'm only seeing that you have audio only because of a poor internet connection. And I've seen people that have jumped off or dumped or all this other stuff. It's just not a stable enough platform to do a weekly marketing piece that you're trying to broadcast to millions of people.
And you don't have the iTunes factor.
Exactly.
So that's the biggie.
Yep.
Cool.
Huge.
But from a branding standpoint, I mean, that's ambitious because you're doing stuff pretty much every day of the week, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes.
Are you keeping up with that? How long have you been on that schedule? Because that's a lot. I feel like that's being chained too much to the desk every day. But it works for you?
Oh, it works perfectly. I mean, I record, I've got podcast interviews lined up planes at O'Hare. They just, I get them done and they're sitting in the can. So I can schedule them all out and I don't have to worry about it. And then all I have to do is, and the way I work it is, I'll interview Lou and we'll talk about video and I'll get his take on it. And then I'm going to go over to my side and I'm going to say, here's my take on it. That's going to build on what Lou is going to say next. And then writing the blog is just basically taking what I did in that monocast and just verbalizing it. I could even take that and literally have it translated or transcribed and put that out as a blog. So it's really not as hard as you think once you develop a system, hence the bacon system. It's coming up with ways to make all this stuff systematized.
Yeah. Amen. We love systems.
So I was curious. I meant to ask you this at NAMS, but is bacon, have you done any kind of acronym for that?
Yes.
Does it stand? Oh, all right.
Yes,
cool.
I have. And I'm going to see if I can load it for you here, guys.
All right.
Give me one.
So you get all that cool mini cam thing going.
Oh yeah,
Blab, which I should probably be doing, but I'm too lazy. So.
Well, and Ellen was asking if you've used the screen sharing, and clearly you have. Brian has.
Yeah, the screen sharing on Blab. I don't even know how to do that. So.
I don't either. We should probably learn. We should probably invest in that.
Yeah, you can. It's not that hard. I mean, you can put in. You can do videos now. You could do slide share.
Do you need an extra plugin? Is that the magic?
No,
you have another
it's all there.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
You as a moderator can add a slide share. You can add a video. It's all there right now.
Oh, I just have to find it.
Yeah, I'm going to dive into that.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I've tried it. It's a little glitchy. It's not all that easy, but...
I'm always afraid I'm going to break something, so I just go for okay, we're on Blab. Don't touch anything.
I'm with you, yeah.
Shut off.
It gets a little goofy. I'm just trying to see if I could find that one image for you guys.
Yeah. Hey, but I can't wait for Brian. Dre, do you have folks who are doing on the branding side? Do you have folks who are doing podcasting as a branding tool?
No, I really don't have that many podcaster peeps. I have a lot of them are trying to do shows. So a lot of them are focused on YouTube and Blab and lots of Periscope.
Really?
So that's, and I, to be honest, am not a big podcast. Like I don't listen to them. I guess I like the brands in the 5, 10 or 15 minutes, but most of the podcasts I listen to are an hour, and it's I have total ADD. I cannot, especially just listening when I don't have pretty shit to look at or people to look at and judge and make fun of. I really have no attention span for it. So I'm not a huge. How about
you? The ADD generation.
Do you listen to a lot of podcasts?
I do not.
Yeah,
really.
I'm definitely. Yeah, I don't
except
either.
for Brian and a few other people.
Podcast
especially if I'm going to be I'm going to be on a podcast or a Blab, I'll definitely go check a few out first just to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
So
I feel like podcasters are diehards. They love podcasts. They live for that shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. And how long have you been doing that, Brian?
I started November of 2014, so about a year and a half.
Yep.
I'm up episode 154.
Oh my God, can you imagine? That's
Some people
great.
do this
and you do,
every
have you
day.
kept with it? I know, right? It's a real benefit of doing it every day opposed to once a week. I mean, is it just to initially build visibility or to build the YouTube or the iTunes channel? Why the hell do it every day?
I don't know. It just depends on your audience. It depends on your bandwidth. I mean, it depends on a lot of different things. The people that do it every day, like Scott Smith, I mean, he's doing a 8-minute thing, and he produces an entire week in a day. Yeah, and then just kind of drips them out. That's his thing. But he's doing a monocast. Getting expert interviews is like herding cats. Where sometimes you got the whole corral, and sometimes you got nothing.
Well, that's like what Ellen's doing. She'll talk about that next week too. But yeah, I mean, you have to every week. You got to. Fortunately, Dre has come up with most of our Blab folks, but every now and then I'll pull in a pal. So.
And you'll double book up, but we're not hitting on you at all.
Well, you told me to book people, so I booked 2 of the same week. So.
Right.
So, Brian, tell us about really the results, the outcomes. I mean, what have you noticed since you started doing this? What's it done for your business?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing it's done for my business is really helped me to build my brand. I mean, it's gotten me in front of it. Let's put it this way. I'm going to be, frank with you guys and frank with everybody else. The reason I did the podcast is because I get in front of influencers. I just did a podcast on this. I get Joel Comm, Armin Morin, Brian G. Johnson, Lou Bortone, and whoever is in the mix.
Who's an influencer?
Say what?
Really? Who's an influencer?
Don't ruin Dre's reputation.
Yes, he
I
is.
didn't even get the memo. I didn't get the memo.
Damn it! I'm a thought leader.
Congrats, Lou.
Yeah.
Thanks. You want to be one? You can be one next week.
But I get
Brian's Blab.
I get those people on my podcast because I want to interview them because I want to learn from them. And if I figure that I can ask them questions that I'm learning from, it's a way for me to be able to get my audience to learn from them as well. So, and it also puts me, it gives me a little bit of clout. Okay, so my new book is coming out. Are you guys familiar with Thunderclap? I know, Lou, you jumped on that. Okay.
Yep.
So by interviewing these people, by meeting them at conferences, I go out and say, hey, people, will you help me promote my book? I got 1.3 million tweets ready to go. Yeah. And
tell the world and Dre what Thunderclap is all about.
Sure. So what Thunderclap is it's basically a program that You go in and you create this thunderclap, and then you send it to your peeps and say, look, I want to do a thunderclap. Will you support me? When they support you, they go in and pick and choose whether they're doing Twitter or Facebook or both. And what it does is if you get to your level, which I chose 100 people, which seems to be the place to go. If I get 100 people to come on there, it's like crowdfunding. On a specific day, it is going to broadcast a message about my book to everybody's, not list, but their social media people. So it's going to automatically send out to Joel Comm, to Warren Whitlock, to, Rajesh Shetty, all of these people. It's going to basically do a simple broadcast, everybody, one day, one tweet or one post, but it's going to expand my reach on launch day to over 1 million people. And that's what it does. Amazing. So it's crowdfunding, but crowdfunding with people's social influence.
Yeah, and it's not, it's really not too much to ask somebody to do a tweet or a Facebook post for you,
So does that cost anything? Is it like a free app thing or what?
It's free. Okay, you can pay to do more of it. You can pay to get another level.
Thunderclap.
Thunderclap.it.
Thunderclap it.
Yep.
So, so that's cool. So, for some crazy reason, I don't even know why, but I have like 35,000 Twitter followers. So I send that, and that immediately adds to your reach, right?
Exactly. That's the whole point. So I'm just using my, so I do this podcast. I interview you. We're friends. We play drums and guitar together. And now I say, dude, support me. And you say, yeah, no problem. Because all it does is pulls a plug in on Twitter and just says it'll do it once. It's safe. I know a lot of people that have done it. And I get to reach your audience without you having to do anything. All you had to do was just say, yeah, I'll support you. And you never are communicated to again. It's all good. It's like automatic.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like a sponsored tweet, but free, right?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
If you're getting in front of people that aren't your audience, I like it.
Yep.
So you do have to download, you have to connect an app, just so people know. So you have to connect the app, or it's like Twitter authorization.
Right, exactly.
But all it does is that one time you give it permission, it does it, and then there's nothing else like spammy about it, or it doesn't like hijack your shit.
No. Oh, and then you can't do it more than once. I mean, it's just you set up, and each thunderclap has to be done. And I'm not going to go to Lou twice and say, hey, dude, I'm doing a thunderclap this day and this day and this day. You strategically make it a one-time thing so that you're hitting the right audience at the right time.
Pretty cool.
I like it. Cool. Another great tip. So what's I always like this question. What's the 3 most important things when it comes to podcasting? Like, is it equipment? Is it guests? Is it topics? Like, bust it out. 3 most important things when it comes to creating a badass podcast.
Well, the 3 most important things, I think, are, number 1, you got to have good quality audio. It's like, and Lou being in the video world knows that good audio will help bad video, but good video will not help bad audio.
Nobody's going to listen to that.
Good impression, too.
Yeah, so that's number 1. The second thing is you've really got to be audience focused, and you've got to have content that people want to listen to. It's no different than any other medium that way. And so by getting really interesting guests, and since I grew up in the radio and audio world, I'm really good at interviewing people, so that's the skill, is to go in and say, I'm not going to ask you, most people will do question number 1. What is your name? Where did you grow up? What is the most important thing about podcasting? It's like you just ask that extemporaneously, not just, you're reading off a script. So it's really about creating an environment that is warm and compelling and that people want to listen to. It's like anything else. If you finish that 10 minutes and you don't feel like you spent 10 minutes, you've done a great job. And then the third most important thing, like anything else, is it's content. You've got to distribute it. You've got to promote it. You got to be behind it. You got to brand it. You got to, do everything that you can to get as many listeners as possible, because you want to grow your audience. And that's key. So it's no different than any other medium, whether it's video, print, blogs, pictures, whatever it is. You've got to be behind it and actually promote it. So those are my top 3.
Yep. So, go ahead, Dre.
No, I was going to say, so that segues into, obviously you said, it's just like trying to get visibility for anything else that you're doing in your brand. But like I said, I feel like podcasters are a different breed. Like, they're very diehard. Like, if you're a podcast lover, you kind of love podcasts. And if you don't, you're kind of like, it's going to be hard to convert me to a podcaster, let's be honest. So how do you find it on? Like, should you be on or iTunes like right away? I mean, as soon as you have your 10 and get on there, like what's the best steps to try to start to get traction? I mean, I would imagine reaching out to the assets you have, right? Social media, your list,
Right.
that kind of thing. But what else can you do? I mean, should you be on iTunes and other little tips that will help you get that initial boost that I hear really helps the podcast? Like you really want to come out of the gate strong.
Well, the same thing is true with let's go to blogging. Okay, I write a blog every single week. I've been able to leverage that blog by getting my blog accepted by Business to Community. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them or not. Yep. But so I write a blog. It's automatically pulled into B2C or Business to Community. And that extends the reach from my thousands of people that I have on my list and within my social network to hundreds of thousands of people. Well, Business to Community takes that and amplifies it by selling it to Yahoo Small Business. And occasionally one of my blog posts is being seen by over 1 million people. So, it's the same kind of thing that you need to do is you need to find ways to amplify what it is that you're doing. So iTunes, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's where the majority of the traffic comes from. But it's also sitting up on my website. It's also in Stitcher. It's also in iHeartRadio. And you're getting it out at as many distribution platforms because they're hungry for content. If you produce good content, they're going to share your content. So that's the key is get as many people to share it, many people to listen to it, as many aggregators out there as you possibly can to expand your reach.
Ellen has a question. Ellen's our guest next week. How do you get the big players to agree to an interview? I mean, you've had some pretty, besides me, of course, you've had some rock stars on your podcast. Is it tough to get them to agree to that?
Well, it's tough if you just go after them, but usually it's through association. Like I interviewed somebody, Nicole, a couple of weeks ago, and she happened to know John Lee Dumas because he was on her show. And I said, hey, how do I get a hold of John? She said, here's the link, do this thing. And lo and behold, I got a 25-minute interview with John Lee Dumas coming in. It's all about building your sphere of influence, and it's like, I'm at a conference in Atlanta with Joel Comm and Brian G. Johnson and, Kathleen Gage. And, I'm hooking mics on these people and they get to know, like, and trust me enough when I say, you want to be on my podcast, they're going, oh, yeah. So it's really about relationship building, which is the cornerstone of what my business is built on, relationship marketing in a social media world. It starts by giving first and giving something of value to them, and then they'll return the favor. So it's really about creating a sphere of influence and then helping other people guide you towards, some really killer people. One of the blabs that I went on was Joel Comm and Armin Morin. And I jumped on just like this in a hot seat and I said, hey, Joel, I want to ask Armin a question. And the question was, what was the biggest aha moment for you in copywriting? And he said to me, he says, the day that I realized that writing copy is like sitting across from somebody in a coffee shop and talking directly to them. And then Joel goes, Brian, you should have Armin on your show. Brian is an awesome dude. You need to be on his podcast. Well, his VA scheduled it, and boom, there it was. I got Armin Morin on the show. And it just and then when people see, you get Armin Morin, you get Joel Comm, you get Michael, that kind of stuff. It just keeps building upon itself. So
yeah,
cool.
Hopefully that answers the question, Ellen.
Yeah.
Do you have a course or anything where you teach, or who do you think is the best teacher for podcasts as far as putting all the bells and whistles together and the logistics? Because it's a beast, podcasting. I mean, from start to finish, the systems of producing it and getting it on all those channels that you mentioned. So do you teach that, or who do you suggest is the best teacher out there?
Well, I teach it in private coaching. I don't have a course to do it, so to speak, because I mean that's kind of a red ocean. I don't know if you've ever read the Blue Ocean Strategy or not. It's a great book, but I mean you got Kelly McCausey, you've got Scott Smith, you got John Lee Dumas. I mean you got a ton of people teaching podcasting. So if you want to jump in a community that's really big into podcasting, kind of ride the wave, John Lee Dumas is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Scott Smith, I actually purchased his program because he wrote something called Podcast Persuasion. And Podcast Persuasion is really about how to develop a podcast with a purpose. He was more about monetizing and trying to figure out ways to do that. Yeah. So, so that was just a little bit different animal. But so those guys are anybody is great. It really is not as tough as it seems. It's just understanding all the pieces, systematizing again that makes it work. That's it. Once you understand the system, it's not that bad. Setting up is not that hard. You know, if you got a little bit of technical knowledge, it's a WordPress and a plugin, and you record it and you get hosting it. I use Blueberry. And if you want to learn more about this stuff, go to brianloves.info. And you'll find a product section. I've got links to all that stuff there. That's my affiliate site, just so you guys know. But it's but those are the places where I send people to say, hey, here's a link to Blueberry. Their hosting is awesome. Their plugin works great. And once you get that system set up, then it's just a matter of getting the feed, getting iTunes to believe in it, and now you just got to produce it. And once you get it produced, then it's just a matter of feeding the beast. So set up the system and just keep creating great content.
Yep.
So go ahead.
I just think it's going to only get bigger as it gets into the more and more cars and things like that. It's just a better option. I mean, like radio, I came from the radio business, and that industry is just in a shambles right now.
Shit. Yeah. So, no one wants to listen to radio, especially with, if you want music, if you want talk, there's too many other options, right? I mean, Pandora and iHeartRadio have stolen the music scene and podcasts.
But there's only one bacon podcast.
Actually, there's two. There's two. There's two.
Did someone try to steal that shit?
No, actually, well, here's the way it works. I wrote the bacon book first. Yeah. And then Brad Costanzo, who's honestly a great interview, does a great job. He has Bacon Wrapped Business. And then I had a common friend who knew Brad, and he was pissed that I had the Bacon podcast. And he said, but dude, he wrote the book before you did the podcast. So, it's like, but they're both great shows. And that's the thing about, internet marketing. There's room for that. He's interviewing great people. I'm interviewing great people. We have two different formats. Mine's 10 minutes. His is an hour, It's all good stuff.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So have you found 10 minutes is kind of a sweet spot for podcasting? I mean, I know John Lee says 20, 22, something like that. I don't know if that's because the old TV show, the half-hour sitcoms were 22 minutes.
Yeah, the 22-minute thing is the sitcom thing, but the average commute for people is about 20 minutes. So I find that 10 to...
in the Bay Area or in California.
Yeah, not in California.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, you could listen to 100 podcasts in California.
Yeah, no shit.
But I think the 10 minutes is fine because people are going to consume two, and that's why I do the two, so they can listen to the expert interview and then my take, and they'll constantly go through that mode. And so to me, that makes a lot more sense to keep them short, get them to the point. And plus I can always do multi-series. I could do 5 parts. If I needed to spend an hour or 22 minutes, I could do 2 parts, 5 parts, whatever. So that's the game.
Cool. Yep. Have you heard anything before we wrap up about YouTube streaming and that whole new thing that's supposed to come out this month?
Yeah, I did. I don't know much about it. I've just heard about it. And, and then there's other tools out there like Anchor, which is another social media thing, which is basically it's audio social media. So it's kind of like podcasting to a group and asking for stuff in return. So there's tons of new things coming. And just like with anything with YouTube and Google, when it hits, play with it and see what happens, and I mean, Facebook gave you live streaming now where you can do live streaming to groups and to business pages. And, I mean, the 800-pound gorilla of online streaming of audio and video is out of the bag now. And it's just going to keep growing. It's crazy. That's why I love Blab. Yeah.
Blab is cool. Well, type in or give us your URL where we can find you and the book and the other cool stuff. And
yeah. Just, the best thing to do is Brian Basilico. Just search Brian Basilico and you'll find everything. And that's probably the easiest way because you'll find all my books, my podcasts. I mean, on Amazon, Brian Basilico. Go to Bacon
What
Podcast.
social platform are you on? Do you hang out on most?
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on
you're
Facebook.
One of those everything guys. Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on
you're one of those.
Yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Google Plus, Snapchat, Anchor.
Oh my gosh!
And I spend. I do all that stuff.
Yeah,
crazy.
But I've got systems that deal with it all, though. Hey, here's the quick deal. I get a direct message on LinkedIn, dude, I want to give you money. I get a direct message on Twitter, I want to give you money. I get a direct message on Facebook, I want to give you money. Why would you not be in a place where people want to hand you money?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
True that.
Dre, we got to add a donate button to our Blab, I think.
I like it.
I know. Like anyone who wants to message me that you want to give me money, just fucking find me.
Yeah, so she can buy a bar because she has to buy that bar shower curtain now.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, guys,
That's
I got to
awesome.
jump
Thank you
because
so
I
much.
actually go record a podcast. So
All
All
right.
right. Well,
I'll
thanks
talk
for
to you
your
soon.
time, Brian.
Oh, no, it was a
Thanks.
pleasure. Have me back again if I can help. All right.
Awesome. We'll see
Absolutely.
y'all next week. So Dre
care.
will be
Bye.
back next week
Bye-bye.
with Ellen.
Bye,
Ellen,
Brian.
thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we
Brian.
can't wait to actually officially meet you,
That was
Ellen.
that was just a promo tease
That
for
was
next
a
week.
tease. Yeah, that's what
So-
that's what you had planned, right, Lou?
Yeah, and Sheila and all the other cool folks that are here. Thank you, and we will
Absolutely.
see y'all next week.
Yep, same time, same place. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.